And it looks like it.
On the front row.
I'd like to ask this question of the most handsome member, Mr. Starr.
Oh, he's been...
Mr. Starr, what do you think your basic appeal is to the younger generation?
Don't know.
Liveliness.
You know, it's maybe my smile.
Down here. Next to Dave.
Yes, I'd like to pose this question to Paul, if I may.
We're all as important as each other, Dave. Yeah. Let's face it, Dave.
Give us a ciggy, John. Now move them on, move on.
Would you consider...
Hi, Dave.
Would you consider...
Here again, Dave.
This, yes, I'm always everywhere. Would you consider the Hollywood Bowl, the most important part of your tour this year, or for any year, that matter?
No, Dave, no.
It doesn't bother you in the other 22 hours?
Well, the other 22 hours, you're just normal, you know. It's only when we sort of come to the place that it gets exciting.
You accept the symbol as what it is?
Yes.
Thank you very much. A very good answer.
Ringo, I understand that your wife is a hairstylist. Is it true that she's tried to change your hairstyle?
She used to be a hairdresser. She hasn't, but she cuts it, but you know.
But hasn't changed the Ringo cut at all?
It changes a bit from sort of month to month, but nothing exceptional.
Could you tell us what happened last night at San Diego? I understand that some fans almost got on the stage.
Oh, no.
That was after we'd left, actually.
It wasn't.
Wasn't it? Well, I'm at the back, you see. I don't see so
Anyway,
well.
there was all bright lights around the stage. You couldn't see a thing, you know.
There was one or two nearly made it, but they got beaten down.
Can we take the next question from the back there, please?
Do you appreciate women more now that you're famous?
Do we appreciate what?
No,
Do you find that you appreciate women more now that you've become famous?
We've always appreciated them.
No more, no less.
Do you think you'll be able to grow? Do you think you'll be able to grow old gracefully?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, you know.
On the front row. Yep.
John,
Yes,
your second book is slightly different than your first.
I'm glad about that.
Do you find it doing as well as the first? Any difference in sales, or haven't you been able to tell yet?
I haven't asked anybody, you know. If they'll tell me when they're ready to tell me. It did as well initially. It won't sell as many, but it's a better book, so I don't care, you know.
Do you plan another book in the near future?
I don't really plan them, you know. They just sort of happen. The publisher plans them, and I just sort of scribble. You know.
Third row.
I'd like to ask John if he feels that this trip...
It's been very good. It's better this
It's
time.
okay, you know.
It's been so good this time we couldn't even see our friends. They wouldn't let them in, you know. It's okay, though.
It's been good, except for Houston.
Is it true in New York? I had a letter from a little girl who said that in New York, you kind of led a boo for the police at the stadium there one time. Is that true? Because they were getting rough.
No, not really, you know, but yeah, I think they were a couple of coppers were getting some fella because he'd run up on the stage. They were thumping him up a bit, you know.
That was Madrid.
So it was
Ringo?
just a rule.
Ringo, did you enjoy working more in Help than It's a Hard Day's Night?
Yeah, in Help, yes. Basically a chase film, because I keep getting chased by all these lunatics. Yeah. And my three pals saved me.
A number of American artists like Roy Orbison and Eddie Hodges have been banned or
Be anxious to appear in one.
I haven't heard anything about it, and I don't really fancy
He probably just thinks
laying in
Ringo's
bed
ill.
for the series.
Yes.
I'd like to direct this question to George Harrison, if I may. George.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Is it true that you and John have an interest in a market in Liverpool?
Well, it's not a market. It's a big store, or a little store, and it's called a supermarket because you push the thing around and collect your own food. But we haven't even seen the place yet. You know, we just bought it.
You don't know how well it's doing then? Is it doing well?
Well, we spoke to the manager and he said it
It'd be successful if we came too often. I think.
Will you go to Germany eventually?
Pardon?
Will you go to Germany eventually?
We don't know that. Brian decides where we go.
It's a big market. It's worth going to, but it's the time, you know.
Well, may I direct this question towards Paul and to John? I understand you're...
All right, David.
I understand you're Dylan fans.
We all
are you?
All of us are.
You all
Even
Dylan
George
fans?
and I like
Even George and
Even
Ringo.
me, yeah.
Even George and Ringo like him.
Is that
Even the non-musical members of the group.
You don't plan on... don't want to correct Ringo, but you'll be back from San Francisco at the time the Dylan concert
We
will be
won't
on.
because we
We're
leave
playing the same
exactly.
night,
We
aren't we?
play the same night that he's here.
He's here
And we
then
leave on
for
Wednesday
England.
for England.
And we
Oh, I
saw
see.
him in Britain, you know, and it was good, but we're not going to flog it.
Did any of you help Mr. Epstein write his book?
I had 2 girls that have been in a helicopter. But that's
There
all.
was 4 of them.
4?
Four
Were
of
they
them.
driving it?
We were in bed at the time.
What do you think of the groupies or the girls that make a business of chasing groups?
I think it's terrible.
Do any of you go to church?
No.
Nope.
Not lately.
George, have you and the Beatles ever been to South America or Russia for a tour?
No.
Or why not?
Well,
The Russians don't like us.
and we don't particularly want to go to Russia.
They burn us there.
Well, I don't. And South America, I don't think they've ever heard of us down there.
Yes, they have.
They
yes,
have.
They have.
We
yes,
nearly
they
went
have,
to-
George.
We almost
we
went
Nearly
to
went this time
Mexico.
because Brian wanted to see Mexico.
Yes, we nearly went.
We tour the places our manager wants to see. And tour. He takes his camera and, you know. So
What,
we'll probably be going there pretty soon, eh, Brian?
What's your program for the next few months, say for the next 3 or 4 months? Like concerts or
Depends
or
on what
whatever.
Mr. Epstein wants to see.
Does he
We have
know?
a month off as soon
Probably
as we get
included.
back, and it'll most probably just be TV and records and...
TV and bull rings and things like that. He likes that sort of stuff.
There have been some quotes on some radio stations in which you put down the movie magazines. You said that the things that they are saying are unfair, like Ringo always waves, and some movie magazine said that he did not wave,
Well, it's a lot
and
of-
television proved it. My question is, do you feel that, number one, there is a difference between the treatment that you have received by movie magazines and all other magazines, and teenage magazines specifically?
Well, the teen ones and the movie ones are written by people that never leave the office and they just make it all up, you know, and it's a lot of rubbish. But there's nothing we can do about it because the libel laws are so peculiar over here.
Magazines?
Well,
Yeah,
the
but
movie
the-
magazines were talking about it, the same kind of thing, you know.
But the thing is, the teen magazines, like 16 magazine, well, even though the stuff they write is still rubbish, it's not as bad as the movie mags, but it's still rubbish.
But
you know.
there's some great magazines, you know, and some crummy ones like anywhere. But there's just a few more crummy ones over here, I think. I mean, you know, you've got to admit it. If someone puts in, you know, is Richard Burton dying?
I've just
then
read
there's a whole
about him
article.
leaving the group as
He's
well
leaving the
yesterday.
group, definitely, and
No, I
I'm
mean, I don't-
definitely
what can
married
you do
in one
about
of them.
that? You know, you can't sue him here. What can you do?
It's
and
fun
you
to
can't
read,
ring
you
them
know.
up and say, I'm not leaving the group. Where did you get this from? Because then they get big publicity out of it. So you just got to leave it. But we just keep telling everybody that they're lousy and hoping the kids will gradually cotton on. You know, just buy them for the photographs and don't believe all the rubbish.
The thing is, if you read them like fiction instead of fact, it's much better, you know.
But you get all these letters, and are you really leaving? Or is Paul married? And have you got 12 wives and all that stuff, you know?
I love them,
And
though.
it's
I love 'em.
worrying.
It's nice to read I've got 12 wives.
John and Paul, in creation of a Beatles song between...
We do most of them, most of the ones that we do now.
We do
We've
most
done
of the
at all the
popular ones.
concerts, all our records, you know.
You know us.
What group do you consider the largest challenge to your popularity? Could I ask Paul, please?
Yeah. Can I ask?
And their thoughts are running quite freely, and playing and being a Beatle doesn't interfere with it, it stimulates it.
One question I'd like to ask. Last summer, a doctor in San Francisco said that the Beatles were an instrument of the communist propaganda, softening up of the youth of today.
I think you ought to see a doctor, that doctor. He must be mad.
Do you have any people taking this seriously? Have you had anyone follow it up at all?
Well, when we first came out, the sort of Russian papers knocked us, but then they decided we were all right. So we're sort of almost in Russia, accepted, but there's still, I mean, he wasn't even Russian, was he?
Among the youth in Russia, the Beatles have a tremendous following just as in the rest of the world.
I don't think it's anything like that, but it's just that the papers changed the tune. And well, we noticed in the Daily Worker in Britain, at first they were saying we were capitalist things, and then they changed and said we were sort of workers, you know, raising the workers up to fight against capitalism, so they changed the tune a bit. That's the way we found out. Daily Worker's the British Communist paper, you see.
John, thank you very much. Dave?